Hello everyone, my name is Abhijit Goman and this is my presentation. Hello everyone, my presentation is titled Family Immigration Stories, Understanding Asian American Identity. For this project I explored my parents' immigration journey from India to the United States and connected their stories to larger themes we studied in class. Introduction. Immigration is often discussed through statistics and policies, but behind every number is a personal story. By interviewing my mom and dad, I wanted to understand the experiences that shaped our family and how their journey reflects broader Asian American histories. Research focus. My project focused on three central questions. How do immigrant experiences shape identity in the next generation? What challenges do first generation immigrants face when arriving in the United States? How do personal narratives connect to academic research on Asian American assimilation, racism, and cultural resilience? Who I interviewed? I interviewed my mom and my dad, who were both born and raised in India. My dad more from the Pakistan side, my mom from the India. They were both raised in Punjab. My dad came to the US first for higher education, while my mom immigrated in her early 20s. Their journeys were different, but both faced common challenges many Asian immigrants experience. Background. India to the United States. Like many immigrants, my parents migrated for opportunity, education, economic stability, and the hope of a better future. They described early obstacles, cultural shock, language differences, and the difficulty of restarting life in a country where they had no family support system. My parents didn't have the best education in India, and because of that, they decided to come to the US for a better future and a better opportunity at jobs and just learning. Economic stability, it was much harder for my parents to get a job here than India, but the income difference and everything made them want to come here and they believed they could build something for a better future, and they did. And the early obstacles they had faced was cultural shock. Obviously, going from a whole country to another country where you have no clue what's the culture or anything like that is a big shock to you, and just adapting to that is extremely hard. Language differences. In Punjab, India, my parents spoke Punjabi and Hindi, and here they speak English, so it was a little hard for them to adapt and just learning how people speak, slang, lingo, stuff like that. Because if you didn't learn slang and lingo, you would get stereotyped and racist comments on the way you speak and stuff like that. And the most hardest for them, the difficulty of restarting life in a country where they had no family support system. Family is like the biggest thing that would help you and support you, and to not have anybody behind your back to support you when you're like down and you have no like money, nothing like that, no support, just looking for a job, economic support or anything. It's hard, especially in a whole different country. You're not used to that environment, you're facing racist comments, you're getting judged everywhere you go. It's extremely hard. Challenges. From my interviews, several themes came up repeatedly. Navigating American social norms, financial pressure and finding stable employment, racial stereotypes and subtle discrimination, missing family, and dealing with long distance relationships. These challenges are widely documented in research on Asian immigrant adaptation. Navigating American social norms. My parents had a tough time navigating like what's the normal like for the social to be social and like just in the whole like culture and everything. Like it was hard for them to figure that out, like how people act, how people dress, how people talk, just everything. It was hard for them to navigate. Financial pressure is probably the biggest. When you move from one country to another, it's hard for you to find a job or build up money so you could build a better future for your family, your kids, and the people you care about. And especially in the early stages, it was really hard for them to find employment because you don't have citizenship, and most jobs require that, let alone a green card. And it was hard for them to like work through that and find a stable employment where they would keep them like for a long period of time without needing those types of like proofs. Racial stereotypes. Even now, people get judged a lot, and back then it was worse. And people would make a lot of racist comments, and some people would decide not to even go to like their job where they worked, because my mom worked at a restaurant, and people wouldn't go to the job or the place just because it was Indian, and they would be racist. It was like racial stereotypes. The food was bad, like it was dirty and stuff like that. And subtle discrimination, people would discriminate like Indian food is bad, it's too spicy, or stuff like that. Just overall, just making racial stereotypes. And the biggest one for my mom was missing family and dealing with long distance relationships. When you have arguments with the person you care about, when you have nobody to rely on, or when you have a tough day, it's hard dealing with that. And the number one person you would go to is your family, or the people you would go to is your family and your loved ones. And not having that was fairly difficult for my mom, because she would have to deal with a lot of comments, because being a woman in a different country, different environment, it's a whole lot tougher than anything else. And my mom having to deal with that with no significant other, nobody there for her, it was really hard. These challenges are widely documented in the research on Asian immigrant adaptation. Culture preservation. My parents emphasized how important it was to keep Indian traditions alive. They maintained language, food tradition, religious customs, culture celebration. This aligns with the concept of ethnic retention, which scholars describe as a protective factor for immigrant well-being. So my parents' culture was everything to them, and keeping that alive meant everything, because that's like where you're from, that's where you've grown up, that's where you learned everything. And so always, you can't lose that part of you to them. You always gotta have that part, and they maintain to keep that part. They maintain the languages like Hindi and Punjabi, which I also learned because it taught me. So I also learned that. They maintain food traditions. My parents still know how to make dishes that they learned from India. Their grandparents taught them, and they know everything. Religious customs. My parents are fairly religious. They're religious to the religion of Sikhism. And cultural celebrations, they still celebrate holidays from India, like Punjabi holidays such as Gurpurab, Nagar Kirtan, and stuff like that. Identity and belonging. As their child, I learned that my own identity is deeply shaped by their stories. They shared how they wanted me to feel connected to both cultures, even when navigating stereotypes or cultural misunderstandings. This reflects the idea of bicultural identity formation common among second-generation Asian Americans. My parents, told me to stay connected to both cultures, and mainly the Indian culture, because it's hard to do that, and they don't want me to lose that part of me, especially because being here, it's hard. Like, people are extremely judgmental and stuff like that. And at first, I was against the idea of being connected to my own culture, because I would get judged, I would get racial stereotypes and stuff like that. So understand. Course concepts. These experiences tie directly to major course themes: diaspora, maintaining ties to homeland, assimilation and acculturation, balancing new and old cultures, racialization, being seen as foreign or other, ethnic networks relying on Indian communities for support. Academic research findings. Min Zhao, 1997. Segmented assimilation theory explains how support networks shape immigrant success. Pyong Gopman, 2010. Ethnic communities help immigrants navigate economic and social barriers. Uma Siegel, 2002. Immigrant is shaped by structural forces like globalization and inequality, not just personal choice. These theories match what my parents expressed in their interviews. Conclusion. Their stories show that immigration is not just moving to a new country. It's about rebuilding identity, culture, and opportunity. By connecting personal narratives with research, we can better understand Asian American experiences and not just as individual struggles, but as a part of a broader historical and social patterns. These are my references, and that would be my presentation. Thank you very much.